Hello, it's Rebecca from Precious Pages Papercraft, and today I'm designing a layout for Peartree Cutfiles. So this video does class as an advertisement. For today's layout I'm using the Pick of the Patch title cut file that was released with the November cut file, so part of the November release. It's already available in the store either as a digital download if you have your own machine, or if you don't have your own machine, that's fine because you can buy them as pre-cut cut files. So Marie will cut them for you and send them to you in the post. I wanted to do something slightly different with this layout, so I am heat embossing my cut file. So I've gone over the entire thing with an embossing dabber, and that puts a liquid on the cut file. And then I've poured over some embossing powder. This one is a glittery sparkle one. It's by Wow, and it's called Metallic Gold Sparkle. So you use your embossing dabber, or if you've got an embossing pen or ink pad, cover the area you want to cover to heat emboss. Then you pour your embossing powder over it like so. Shake off any excess, and then you use a heat tool or heat gun to heat emboss it. Basically it sets it and it goes really sparkly. It's beautiful, especially this gold one. It's absolutely stunning. I love this. So once it's dry, it's completely set, it's not coming off once you've heated it, and it's just super shiny and pretty. So that's what I've done with my cut file for this time. I wanted this layout to be all about the mixed media, so I've used very little in the way of patterned papers, but let the mixed media really sing on the page. So as well as adding heat embossing to the cut file, I'm going to do a mixed media background as well. So I'm using my Distress ink pads. I have two different shades of orange I've used here. I've got Spiced Marmalade and Rusty Hinge. So the first one I've used there is the Spiced Marmalade, which is a lighter orange, and then this Rusty Hinge is a much richer, darker tone of orange, which I absolutely love. It's perfect for like anything pumpkin related or Halloween. It's just brilliant orange. So I've just used the packaging technique to add some ink to my background there, and now I'm coming in with a gold acrylic paint, and I'm going to add some paint splatters. Because I haven't got enough gold on my layout already, we're going for more gold. So just with a small paintbrush there, I've added a bit of water to the paint and adding some splatters to my background. So once I'm done with that, I just replace my cut file back over the top, obviously once all my ink's dried, and just to see how that looks and where I'm going to place everything. So once I'm happy with the background as it is, I just move on to matting my photos. I always tend to mat my photos onto white cardstock first. And then I wanted to bring a little bit more green into the layout. So there's lots of orange in the photos with the pumpkins, and I've got a lot of orange obviously on my background. So I wanted to bring in a bit more of the green because my son's coat in the photos is this gorgeous bright lime green colour. So I've just picked out a green striped patterned paper from my Halloween stash that matches really well with my photos, and I'm just adding a layer of that behind each photo just to bring a bit more green to the page. So I just go around with my scissors, just using the side of the blade to distress the edges. I do that with everything, all paper layers on my page, and if I add a coloured border like I'm going to do again with this layout, I always distress my edges. Sometimes I think to myself I would love to make a layout with just crisp square edges. There's been many a times where I have tried to do that, and as I'm piecing the layout together it just stares out at me from the page that I've not distressed the edges, and I just can't, I'm not comfortable with it. I just can't leave it, so I end up going back and distressing the edges every single time. It's just one of those things that I really like on a layout. I don't like blunt, harsh, straight lines, so distressing the edges of everything is a way to kind of get away from that. So I trimmed off about 1/4 inch off of each side of my background cardstock there, and I'm using this orange, it's just a plain coloured cardstock, to add a frame all around my page. But I decided that because it's just a flat orange colour, it was a bit too flat and needed a sort of a bit of added texture or interest to it. So I'm coming in with the Rusty Hinge Distress ink again. I'm just using an ink blending tool, just roughly adding splodges of ink here and there. No rhyme or reason to where I'm adding it, just bits and pieces here and there. And in actual fact, when the layout's finished, you can barely notice it. Like if I'd cut that bit out of the video, you wouldn't have even known I've done it. But if you know it's there and you look close enough, you can see it. So I'm happy with that. It just breaks up the flatness of that orange a little bit. And I just used double-sided sticky tape to stick that down. I've left one corner folded up there because I'm going to use a metal brad just to pin that back and create a little cluster in the corner. Obviously, still not content that there's going to be enough gold on my page. I'm now mixing some white texture paste with the gold acrylic paint. Apologies, my video jumped a bit there because my mum phoned me halfway through recording, so my camera cut out. But you haven't missed much. All I've done is mixed some gold acrylic paint with the texture paste. I added a tiny bit of the glittery embossing powder, but you can't really see it if I'm honest. And I added a little bit of gold Heidi Swap colour shine. And then I'm just pressing that through a Tim Holtz stencil. Now I do this extra bit in the middle, and in hindsight I really wish I hadn't. You'll see in a minute why, but I think it was just one step too far. I'm going over, whilst the texture paste is still wet, I'm using the same embossing powder that I used for my cut file, and that sticks to the texture paste just as it would if I'd used the embossing dabber. So I've just gone over all the texture paste with embossing powder again, and again I've set that with my heat gun. But you do have to be really careful with texture paste because it does heat up very quick, and you'll notice that whereas if you do it on cardstock, it just dries, it heats up, and you'll see it go super shiny, so you'll know it's set. With texture paste, you can keep going and going and going, and it will just keep bubbling on the page. So you kind of have to gauge when to stop and just let it cool down, and you have to be careful because it does get very hot. But once it kind of starts bubbling, I just do it for a couple more seconds, and then I know it's set, and I leave it there because, like I say, you could just keep going and it would just keep bubbling and burning, and eventually it smells pretty bad. So it's just a case of knowing when to stop. So pretty happy with my background now. As I said, apart from that bit of texture paste I wish I hadn't have added to the middle, but that's not a problem because I do find a way to work around my issues. I'm coming in now. I've decided to back my cut file. Originally I was planning to just leave it open as it was with the gold, but it was kind of getting lost on my busy mixed media background, so I've decided to back it with patterned papers. So I've got an orange kind of harlequin diamond patterned paper there that I've used for the pumpkin. I had a choice of quite a few papers, but I went with this one because it was darker, and the pumpkins in my photo were quite a dark orange, so it matched really well. Now this is where the gold embossing powder with the texture paste I did in the middle kind of doesn't work. So the cut file reads pick of the patch, but the of the in the middle bit where I'd heat embossed that, and then I've got that texture paste heat embossed right underneath it, the words of the were kind of getting completely lost on my background and you couldn't really see them. So I've had to make the decision to cut those out of the cut file, and I will have to replace those with some thickers because you really couldn't read it over the texture paste, which is a bit of a shame. And like I said, in hindsight I probably shouldn't have put that texture paste right in the middle there. It was a bit silly, but you live and learn and you make mistakes, and there's usually always a workaround. So as you can see, I've just cut the centre out there, and then I've got these thickers that I found there. They've still got gold in, so I'm still getting some more gold on the page. They're by American Craft and they're called Swing. Now, part of me wants to say they were from a Vicky Booting collection, but I'm really not sure, I can't remember. I just got this niggling thought in the back of my head that they might have been Vicky Booting, but don't quote me on that. But they're called Swing anyway, and they're white thickers with like a foiled gold effect on them. And as I was trying to make back up the words of the, I realised I didn't have any H's left, so I've had to engineer an H out of some other letters. I think I used a W and one of the hyphens and just cut it down. So it's one of those things that I know I've done it and I can see it, but hopefully to you guys it's not as obvious and staring at you out the page like it is to me. But I didn't have an H, so I had to kind of go with it. As you can see, I've used a patterned paper to back the rest of my cut file. That is a floral paper from the Simple Stories Boo Crew collection. That was a Halloween collection. So although I wasn't really going for a Halloween feel with this layout, I still managed to use a couple of patterned papers from Halloween collections, and it's worked really well. It's not jumping out, ooh, Halloween layout. It's more of an autumn harvest layout, even though we were picking pumpkins for Halloween. I wanted to stay away from the darker Halloween colours, so I've used that beautiful floral paper to back the rest of my cut file. And now again, another Halloween paper I've picked out, and I'm just fussy cutting some flowers from it and then going through a couple of sticker sheets. So I've got one that is from Photoplay, it's called Mad Plaid Fall. I can't actually remember if I picked anything off of that one. I don't think I did. Oh no, I did. There was a banner that says Pick of the Patch that came from that set, and there's a row of pumpkins that there you go, I'm just peeling it off there. I think I eventually sit at the bottom under the word patch. So they've come from the Photoplay sheet, and then I've also got an Echo Park sheet that's called My Favourite Fall. And then this one is the Simple Stories Boo Crew. And just going through here, I've got the Pinkfresh Studio and Days of Splendour collection. I was just going through that just to see if there was anything I could add, but I don't think I do in the end. So what I've done with the stickers that I've picked off, I wasn't quite sure on placement yet, so I didn't want to start sticking them down on the layout and then having to move them. So I've done a trick that I learnt from Missy Widden. I've stuck them all onto white cardstock and fussy cut them out, and then they work more as kind of ephemera pieces than stickers, so you can move them around, and if you're not happy where you've placed them, you can move them really easy and they're not stuck down anywhere. So I've done that, stuck them all down, cut them out, and now I'm just figuring out where I want everything to go. And this part of the layout actually came together pretty quick for me. Normally embellishing takes the longest for me, but yeah, it came together pretty quick. So as you can see, I've put a brad on that folded over corner now, and I'm just creating a tiny cluster in the corner there. So I've got a flower sticker, I've got a word sticker that says Picking Pumpkins, and I'll also add another gold flower or gold leaf sticker down there in a minute. But I'm just going around now, sticking everything down with either foam pads, or there's a couple of bits I stick down flat. I've added some green thread behind my row of pumpkins underneath my cut file, and some orange thread underneath that sticker at the top of my photo there that says Miniature Pumpkins. So just working my way around, sticking everything down now. I've got a few orange flowers that I've just scattered around my cut file. A couple of them I've stuck actually on letters of the cut file, and others I've just stuck to my background. But just going around once I'm happy with everything and getting it all stuck down. Once I think I've got everything stuck down, I always sort of tip my layout up just to make sure that nothing falls back off of it. Quite lucky on this one, it is all stuck down. And then I've got this lovely selection of green sequins coming all different shapes and sizes, all different shades of green. So I'm just going through selecting some just to pop along the top and the bottom of my layout, just to bring in a bit more of that green, because all of my stickers that I've picked out are very orange. So you've got the green in my photo. I've matted the photos with green patterned paper, but that was all the green I've used, so I wanted to bring a little splash more of green in, so I'm just using these sequins to do that. and just using glossy accents to stick them down so that once that's dry they aren't going to go anywhere. I find if I use PVA glue or anything like that to do sequins, once they're in an album they all tend to fall off or chip off as I'm putting the layout in the album, whereas they stick a bit better with the glossy accents. So that's me finished, all my sparkly gold there I'm showing you. So thank you very much for joining me today. Please remember to like and subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Precious Pages Papercraft. You can also follow Peartree Cutfiles, which is at Peartree Cutfiles, and there's also a Peartree Cutfiles Facebook group you can join, and every Wednesday we get a freebie cut file, so very worth joining. So thank you very much. Please do check out the Peartree Cutfiles website. The November release was amazing. There's loads of files to choose from now, as well as all the older files. So please do take a look. And any questions, drop me a comment and I'll try my best to answer. Thanks very much. Bye.